Okay, but Bob Jr.
Yeah,
that's what
yeah,
people
Bob.
call me. Yeah, that's what people call me. So if anyone wants a discussion about Christianity and what contentions might be, that's fine.
What is that? Are you Christian?
Yeah, I'm Christian.
You're going to learn
What are you, sir?
just like
I
Afghanistan.
don't believe in
Do you want to discuss about your atheism?
Not really. No.
So why are you an atheist?
Because there's no God.
So what is the premise which would follow the conclusion that there is no God?
The universe, the vastness of universe.
Well, I'm going to
Tells
use
me
a
there's no
basic
God.
theist argument that, you know, code necessitates a coder. So you saying
I don't know. Not for fact.
okay, so you don't
no
know
one
for
knows.
fact. So
There
would you
are
say that there's a higher
theories explaining
deity? Would you say there's a higher deity? So like, what are you? What's your moral frame? What's your
I
framework?
believe in
as
nature and stuff, but I don't believe there is
So you're a
a
naturist?
creator that created this sky,
So would
like,
you, for example,
planet, and then
So you're
gave us
rationalist?
sets of rules and stuff saying, if you don't follow these, you're going to go to hell. If you follow these, you're going to go to hell.
Okay.
I don't believe in that simplistic, basic, like Stone Age kind of era.
Okay, so you're a
Knowledge.
naturalist, so your moral framework would be grounded in what nature is around you, correct?
I don't live by moral.
Okay, so like your logic and what you perceive is through nature, correct?
Yes.
So how do we know from what is what ought to be? So you get nature and you correlate that to your morals, to your logic. So I'm just trying to ultimately ascertain the correlation from what is what ultimately ought to be.
I don't know. You tell me. I actually,
Well, that's the question posed by naturalists and rationalists. Ultimately, you observe this world here and you show that's ultimately what ought to be. So what's the correlation from what is to what ought to be?
no, it is. I can see it, I can feel it, I can test it, I can experience.
So
That's,
I'm going to go down.
that's to me that
okay.
exists, right?
So
But
do you affirm like logic?
Yes.
So would you say logic is mind dependent or mind independent?
Logic is mind dependent or independent.
Yeah, so like, is it something that we've just created or is it something we've discovered? So it's something out there. It's transcendental. It's a
It
principle
doesn't
which
exist, but
preexisted.
if you follow certain stuff, you can see there's a logic there, right?
Okay,
This cause and
so can
effect.
you
So this
define
happened because
existence?
of this, so that's logic, right?
Okay, so
Like,
you
it
would
doesn't have,
say
like,
it's not
supernatural
dependent on an
factual
observer.
stuff.
It's rather something that's always there.
Yeah.
So with
Logic's
matter, space,
always
and time, you have logic. There are the three laws of logic. The law of non-contradiction, the law of identity, and the law of excluded. These are the classical laws of logic. And you would affirm that they exist mind independent. So if there was no humans, they would still have these principles,
Yes.
these laws. Okay, so what's your justification in affirming their existence?
Well, I can observe, right?
That would just
I've got
be-
brain.
that would
I
be
can
begging the
observe, I
question.
can see it myself, right? I read books, for
Yeah.
example, but also I can see in nature. So something happens, and that's the logic. There's a logic.
So you would say that's self-evident?
Yes. If you observe it.
So
yes.
like, what
If
would
you
be your
observe it.
criterion from what is self-evident and what is not?
My
Because there has to be a prior criterion.
My
to
observation.
Because your observation. So would you say that through your observation you can come to a justification of logic? So let me get this right. So in order to have, you would say senses is your observation, correct? In order to have observation, you must have sense data. So in order to make the statement that you have integral sense data, you must have logic. You must presuppose logic and the presuppose the law of consistency. So your worldview is self-refuting and it's circular.
Okay, yes. But so how does that prove that there's a God?
Yeah, I'm just going to simply posit that my world is more coherent and it has the explanatory force to ground these concepts.
Okay, go on.
So when you say that I need sense data,
Explanatory.
okay,
Go on.
so
Give
you
me the
say
explanation.
sense data, your observation will come to the conclusion of logic. But in order to come to the conclusion that you have integral sense data, you must have logic to affirm they're integral.
Yeah.
So it's circular. You're begging the question in both instances. So do you see the issue? Your worldview is self-refuting.
Yes, yeah, I see the issue, but how does that?
Well, I'm not.
Your argument.
Yeah,
proves
my
there's a
argument.
God
Yeah, my argument is.
by invalidating my reason.
I
don't
would
think-
argue the Trinitarian God of the Bible is necessary to ground and complement these categories, these transcendental categories. Yeah, so your worldview obviously can't satisfy them. It doesn't complement them. It doesn't ground them. You have no epistemic justification for establishing these concepts. So I'm saying your atheism is self-refuting. You have no epistemic justification for appealing to logic.
Yes, I agree. Yeah.
You agree. So you do see the issue with this, correct?
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
So
not
what
really,
is
but I
stopping
want to
it?
see
Yeah.
how
So-
God is.
so
I
once
want
we've
you
established-
answer the question.
Because my
I know how you're
Yeah.
coming to debate this, invalidating my reason, but I
Yeah.
want you to
So,
answer the
like
question.
you, I would affirm that logic is mind independent and is grounded in the mind of God. So my God has the explanatory power to ground these concepts. Therefore, my worldview is more
Give me
coherent
an
and
explanation.
justifies the notion that my Trinitarian God is a necessary being in all possible
So
ways.
your God, your book, your God says there is a single entity created this vast university,
Yes.
and if I don't believe in it, there is a hell waiting for me, and if I believe in it, there is a heaven.
Well, I would affirm some form of invincible ignorance. Obviously, it's
No,
very
no,
less
I'm just saying.
bleak.
No, like you do you agree?
Yeah, I
how
agree in
big
the
is
concepts of
universe,
heaven
right?
and hell, and I agree that if you give the courtesy to God that you do not have a relationship with Him, He will give the courtesy back and eternally distance Himself from you. That's His hellfire. It's not.
Okay, do you accept the how big is the universe?
Yeah, I'm not a young earther, and I affirm what science tells me about the universe. And our
how
church
big-
fathers does actually talk about science being the book of nature and how we should follow
How
the
big
book
is
of
the
nature.
universe?
How big is the universe? I have not off the top of my head. I don't know.
I don't know, 50 billion light years.
Yeah, the majesty of God.
Right,
that-
okay, light years, right?
Yeah.
That's vast. That's
Yeah.
so big. So if God created that universe,
Yeah, it created all of it.
and
He
if He
actualized
looks at us, He doesn't see us. Okay, because we're insignificant.
He's
the
omnipotent.
whole Earth in the galaxy. Okay, you can't see it. It's insignificant. So you say that God of that magnitude, that power, wants me to believe in Him. If I don't, I'll
He
go
wants you to
hell.
have a relationship with you.
Why? Is He like what? He doesn't need me.
He doesn't need you. He's self-sufficient. I
Are you
agree.
aware of your like microorganism living on your face right now?
I'm
all
aware
us?
of the science which will conclude
Are,
that.
but are you aware of it?
Yeah, I'm
right?
aware.
So if there is a God, it might be that type of God, right?
Yeah.
Accidentally we've got created, but He doesn't have a hell or heaven, right? Hell or heaven is for the when there was no
Hell in
science.
heaven.
Yeah, when
Hell
there
in
were-
heaven, like,
when there was no
established
science.
terms. Hell in heaven is a courtesy given back. You do not have a relationship with me, therefore I will not have a relationship with you.
So I burn you,
Yeah, so it's a courtesy given back.
but I love you. So
Yeah, the eternally
it's like
loving
a
God
mom,
loves
telling
you.
you to a child, look,
Yeah.
no, chocolate. If you listen to like, if not, it's not.
No,
It's that-
an eternally loving God created you out of love, out of no necessity but love. If you do not love Him and have a
But what is
relationship,
love?
what is love?
Yeah,
The
yeah. I don't want to
affection.
have like if somebody
The
says,
passion
"Oh,
and
I love
affection.
you," I'm like, "I don't want to love you. Leave me alone." So they should leave me alone, right?
Okay, so would it follow that if you never talk to me, I will never talk to you in respect? That's the relationship, right? So when it comes to judgment,
Why should I go to hell?
the courtesy will be given back to your intention, your motivation.
Which is a
Your
hell,
intention and
which is hot,
motivation,
right? Which is like burn.
because you understand that hell is a deprivation of what good is. Good is God. What is immoral is a deprivation
What
of
is
good.
hell? What is hell?
It is a form of punishment, a realm which is deprived of God's goodness, and where you will face righteous
Which is
judgment.
primarily if you don't believe in it, like Christianity. If you believe in Jesus, no matter what you do, you still go to heaven. But if you don't believe in it, you go
No,
to
I
hell.
affirm
No matter what, how good
I
you do.
affirm acts and faith, and I would affirm some concept of invincible ignorance, whereby if God will meet you down on your level. So if you're ignorant, if you have the intention to seek a deity, but you do not have information or access to the information of the gospel, God will meet you down on your level. But as of current, you are talking to people in the park about Christianity. You obviously know of Christianity, so you'll be judged accordingly to your knowledge.
And if I don't have a knowledge of God,
Yeah, so if you're like a monk, for example, which has no knowledge of Christianity, and you had good intentions, it's not for me to say, but given in that particular situation, I know God will meet me down on your level.
to me, to me this sounds like a cult. A psychopath created a cult.
It's not a psychopath.
Then
My God is
to me it's-
ontologically good.
No, that's what to me sounds like.
It may sound like to you, but I need to see
Psychopathic
justification.
control over people through fear and etc. etc.
I need to see a justification for that
Almost
claim.
any religion is
Yeah, I need to see a justification for that claim, because my God, in my worldview, is ontologically good.
Vatican is a prime example of it.
A Vatican. Yeah, these are infallible people. I don't affirm the fallible. I don't affirm the fallible. It's fallible, not infallible. I affirm that he's the
Church
Bishop
of
of Rome.
England.
Yeah, they're Christian. They may what I consider to have Christian ideas, but they're Christian. But again, these are fallible people. The Vatican are fallible. I said infallible. That's my problem.
Like, they believe in Christian.
Yeah, we are all Christians. I may consider in my worldview for them to
Why is
hold
it
unchristian
like
ideas.
Protestant?
Orthodox. But I would consider some positions of Protestants unchristian, but I would still consider them Christian. They hold some unchristian ideas, but they're still Christian. And I'll still love them as a brother in Christ.
Jesus didn't have even a donkey. The Vatican lives in a.
lives.
heavily guarded
Yeah.
palace, right?
And I'd love to go to the
Nobody-
Vatican. I affirm that he's the Bishop of Rome.
I don't believe in such.
Well, again, this is presupposing my paradigm that the Bishop of Rome does in fact exist, and apostolic succession, the laying of hands from the original apostles of Christ.
And you enjoy the heaven.
You, I can't say.
No, I want to go to
No,
heaven.
you do not want to go to
Honestly,
hell.
yeah, I do.
You may like.
Because it
I
doesn't
see
exist.
atheists in the park say, "Well,
I
even
was-
if hellfire
I
exists,
was a
it's still
Muslim and a
eternal life."
Christian, right?
So why did you leave those respected faiths?
It doesn't make sense.
What does not make sense?
Controlling, it just doesn't make sense.
What you're just saying it doesn't make sense.
I told you, like in the grand scheme of the universe, that we're insignificant, we don't exist. And then there is a God that
God
knows
has an importance. God has a lovingness to us.
and we have to follow certain simplistic common sense to go to heaven. If not, believe in Him, He has to be
Acts
true.
and faith.
If not,
And He'll meet you down on your level.
and if not, we will go through hell. Like we go
Again, you have an extremely simplistic idea. It's not that you get on a weighing scale and
It
you
has
could
to
do
be
it out well, but it's not simplistic. Do you think a God reviewing your entire life is simple?
Why would God need to review my entire life?
Brother, He wants a relationship.
I don't get it. In the judgment day, why the God has to say, look,
Because He wants a
40 years
relationship.
ago, you did X on that minute.
No, actions.
I don't know.
No good
Download
actions.
the women, so you go to hell. Like,
No
why
actions.
Why do God need to
Again,
do
you have this Greek mythology about what heaven is. No good actions.
That's what he's
All actions fall short of the grace of God. He wants a relationship with you, and that relationship requires acts. If I believe,
Why does He
hold on,
want
hold
to
on.
have a
If I
relationship?
believe,
I don't-
hold on.
Why God
Bro,
wants to have a
right,
relationship?
I'm going to answer your question. I'm going to go back to the original question. you
Well,
posed.
do we
So
share
in order,
the
hold on.
factors?
In order to believe in the obedience of Christ, I must act in accordance to God. So it's not a weighing scale, it is acts and faith. Both go hand in hand with each other. Why He wants a relationship with you? He made you in the rationale of God, the image of God, to have a relationship with you. Out of pure lovingness. He's ontologically good. And for us to go around in this sinful world allows for greater goods, such as repentance and forgiveness.
Just to make sense. How big is God? Who's God? Man,
He's
women,
atemporal.
Man, women.
It's atemporal.
What is it? Like, you explain- Give me
Atemporal.
something to understand.
It's not something physical.
Okay, what is it? Is it gross? How big is
It's not a temporal thing.
So God sat somewhere? Is it like, where is He heaven? Like, has a throne,
Atemporal.
He sits
It's beyond our existence.
beyond our existence, so magnificent, but He still wants to have
Yeah, the
us.
majesty of
Compulsory
God.
relationship.
Yeah, the majesty of God is beyond our existence, is beyond our comprehension, and God will come down as an energetic manifestation for us to understand the majesty of
it
God.
because you see, man made the God because
No, he
God was an answer to unknown questions. So if anybody,
No, I'm
people
not-
didn't know what was going on, they're like, oh, it must be God. They were looking
No,
at the moon,
that's
saying,
the God-
where is the
yeah.
moon? They're like,
So that's
it
the
must be
gods
the God.
in the-
Now they say no, moon created because of etc. We cannot explain it. But now he says, what is God? They're like, we can't comprehend.
That's the God and the gap fallacy, and that's not what I'm committing. I'm not. I use the transcendental argument and I use a few classical theist arguments. I never pointed to.
These are all man-made. Right?
I never filled into God the fills
I
and
know,
the
these
gaps
are
fallacy.
all man-made. Transcendent.
Well, it was good to speak to you. I think glory to be to God that you come to Christ. Okay, I'll be praying for you. But please, have you read the Bible?
Yeah.
Have you read the Bible?
So
So what
it's
does not make sense about the Bible?
It's like a
Stop
story.
being a heretic.
It's a story of a real thing, of a real incarnate Christ.
They started with Christ.
Yeah, how can you be so sure? Well, how can you be so sure?
It's very similar to other stuff.
No, it's not.
If you go to look at the pharaohs and stuff.
Yeah, I've looked at the pharaohs, I've looked at the Hindus, which are the regular.
similarities. They like copied each other.
Okay, so you understand Judaism, or the narrative of the Old Testament, was the first scriptures to introduce the idea of a monotheistic God.
Judaism is just another level of nonsense.
Wait, hold on. You do understand the Old Testament was the first scriptures which posed the idea of a monotheistic God. The ancient Egyptians, they were pagan. Do you know how revolutionary it was the idea to worship one God? He does. He very much does. He does exist. He does exist. you see the passion in that lady there? Do you think that's a lady who's misunderstood, or she generally believes?
She's going to heaven. She thinks she's going to heaven.
I can't say that. You can't say that.
I can't. She's doing it for heaven. If there's no reward, she's not going to go. And she's scared of hell. Right?
I was saved. I heard a Catholic priest say this, and it's very powerful. I was saved yesterday. I'm saved today.
If you don't,
and I'm
if you believe
praying
in the
that I'm
Bible,
being
you
saved
don't believe in
tomorrow.
hell and heaven. It's like you just don't. You're not Christian.
Yeah. Well, do you actually think you'll change your mind? Or do you think that, like, what would I have to provide to you to change your mind? No, nothing at all.
Okay.
Well, this is going to be a this discussion. It was good to speak to you. What's your name? Ash.
Thank you.
Well, I'm just going to move around a bit, see if there's anyone else.
Give a wrap up on this conversation.
Okay.
So what happened there?
We had the guy originally talk about how all three religions should unite under one moral framework. I disagree. Islam is way less unethical. And then we had the atheist brother come here. He posed some argument that obviously my God doesn't exist. I was able to handle it well, but it's ending up to be fruitless. So I want more fruitful discussions at the park. And God willing, I may find some. So God bless everyone.
Well done, young Bob.